The Martinez family's annual Christmas dinner was in full swing at my cousin Marcus's newly renovated mansion. A purchase he'd financed through my bank, not that he knew that detail. I parked my 5-year-old Honda Civic between his Maserati and my sister Isabella's Range Rover, already anticipating their usual comments. I smoothed down my simple blue dress, a custom Versace that they'd assume was from a mall boutique, and checked my outdated iPhone. The screen displayed an urgent message from my bank's chief financial officer. The Martinez family's loan payments were officially in default. "Oh look, Daniela still hasn't upgraded her life," Isabella's voice carried across the circular driveway. She stood with our cousins, all dressed in obvious designer labels, flaunting their supposed success. "Some people just don't understand ambition," Marcus added loudly, twirling his Maserati keys. "Still working at that small bank, Dani? If they only knew that that small bank was just a branch of Rivera Financial Group, my privately owned banking empire worth billions. That their loans, mortgages and business financing all ultimately answered to me. The bank pays the bills," I said quietly, clutching my worn leather bag that contained more net worth in documents than their combined assets. Barely, from the looks of it. My Aunt Carmen eyed my simple dress. "Isabella just closed another real estate deal. $5 million in commissions this month alone." I bit back a smile, knowing that Isabella's successful real estate empire was built on loans from my bank. Loans that were now teetering on default thanks to her risky investments. "Congratulations, Bella," I said, accepting a glass of champagne. The brand, I noticed, was from my private vineyard in France, though they probably thought it was their most impressive bottle. "This is what success looks like, little sister." Isabella gestured around Marcus's mansion. "Not everyone can hide behind a bank desk their whole life." My phone buzzed again. Another message from my CFO. "Martinez family assets assessment complete. Total exposure, $47 million across all ventures. Awaiting your instructions for default proceedings." Speaking of banking, Marcus draped his arm around his wife's shoulders. "We're expanding the business. Just secured major financing for 3 new developments." I nodded, knowing exactly how secure that financing was. My risk assessment team had flagged his projects weeks ago for immediate review. "The market's booming," Isabella chimed in. "Marcus and I are partnering on a luxury condo project. It's going to revolutionize the city's skyline." The same project my bank had secretly declined to finance last week, though they didn't know that yet. They'd find out tomorrow when their funding failed to materialize. "Still using that ancient phone?" My cousin Diana laughed, waving her latest iPhone. "There's this thing called upgrading, Dani. You should try it sometime." I glanced at my phone, the custom-secured device that controlled billions in assets. "It makes calls." "That's the problem with banking jobs," Marcus shook his head. "No ambition. While we're out here building empires, you're counting other people's money." If he only knew that most of that other people's money was actually mine. That his entire empire existed at my bank's discretion. "Not everyone can be a success," Aunt Carmen sighed dramatically. "Some people are just meant for smaller things." My phone buzzed again. This time it wasn't my CFO. It was the automated alert I'd been waiting for. Marcus's business account had insufficient funds for the pending loan payment. "Excuse me," I said, standing up. "I need to take this call." "Probably her boss asking her to work late again," Isabella smirked. "Some people never learn to think big." I stepped into the hallway, watching through the dining room window as they continued their show of success. Success built entirely on loans from my bank. "Ms. Rivera," my CFO's voice was urgent. "The Martinez family's holdings have triggered our default protocols. Should we proceed with collection measures?" I smiled, thinking of all the family dinners where they'd mocked my small banking job. "Yes," I replied. "It's time they learned who really controls their empires." The Martinez family dinner was interrupted by the simultaneous buzzing of phones. I watched from the hallway as their faces transformed from smug satisfaction to growing panic as they read their messages. "This must be a mistake," Marcus stammered, frantically typing on his phone. "The bank says our business account is frozen." Isabella's perfectly glossed lips trembled as she read her own notification. "My development fund. They're calling in the loans. All of them. Immediately." I leaned against the doorframe, casually checking my outdated phone as years of carefully orchestrated planning came to fruition. Rivera Financial Group had just initiated simultaneous default proceedings on every Martinez family venture. "Everyone calm down," Aunt Carmen commanded, though her voice shook. "Marcus, call your banking contact." "He's not answering," Marcus replied, growing paler by the second. "None of my contacts are answering." Of course they weren't. I'd instructed all Rivera Financial employees to direct Martinez family inquiries to one person only, the bank's mysterious owner whom they'd never met. "Isabella," Aunt Carmen turned to my sister, "use your connections. Someone must be able to help." I can't," Isabella whispered, staring at her phone in horror. "My accounts are frozen too. Even my personal ones." I stepped back into the dining room, watching their perfectly crafted facade of success crumble. My phone buzzed with updates from my executive team. Martinez Development Corp assets secured. Isabella Rivera Real Estate Holdings frozen. Marcus Martinez personal accounts flagged for audit. "This is impossible," Marcus muttered, pacing the room. "We had everything structured perfectly. The loans were solid." "Were they?" I asked quietly. "Or were they built on inflated valuations and creative accounting?" They all turned to look at me, suddenly remembering the family member who worked at that small bank. "Daniela," Isabella's voice turned sweetly desperate, "you work in banking. Surely you can help? Make some calls." "Actually," I set down my champagne glass, "I already have all the information I need about your financial situations." "What are you talking about?" Marcus demanded. I pulled out my phone, the same one they'd mocked minutes earlier, and opened my secure banking app. The Rivera Financial Group's executive dashboard displayed every detail of their crumbling financial empire. "Rivera Financial Group," I began, "holds the majority of your loans. The same bank you all thought was beneath your notice. The same bank that's now calling in its debts." "Rivera Financial?" Aunt Carmen's face went white. "But that's one of the largest private banks in the country. They say the owner is some brilliant financial mind who built an empire while staying completely anonymous." I finished for her. Amazing what people don't notice when they're too busy looking down on others. The room fell silent as realization began to dawn. Isabella grabbed the table for support, her designer bracelet catching the light. The same bracelet she'd bought with a credit line from my bank. "No," Marcus whispered. "It's not possible." I smiled, thinking of all the times they'd dismissed my career choices. In banking, Marcus, anything is possible. Especially when people are too arrogant to read the fine print. My phone buzzed again, this time with a message that made me smile. "Ms. Rivera, the press is requesting comment on the Martinez family asset freeze. How would you like to proceed?" The Martinez family dining room had transformed from a showcase of success to a scene of desperate chaos. Marcus sat slumped in his imported Italian chair, his Rolex-adorned wrist trembling as he kept refreshing his banking app. Isabella paced frantically, her Christian Louboutins clicking against the marble floors she could no longer afford. "Let me make sure I understand this correctly," Aunt Carmen's voice quivered. You own Rivera Financial Group?" "Founded it 7 years ago," I confirmed, pulling up the bank's complete portfolio on my phone. "Right after all of you convinced the family trust manager that I was too financially irresponsible to receive my inheritance." "We were protecting you," Isabella protested weakly. "No," I corrected her, "you were protecting yourselves. Using my inheritance to fund your empires, while leaving me with a basic trust allowance. Did you really think I wouldn't figure it out?" Marcus stood up abruptly. "This is illegal. You can't just freeze our assets." "Surely I can. Section 7.3 of your loan agreements, the fine print you were too important to read, gives Rivera Financial full discretion in cases of misrepresented assets." I smiled. "Like for instance, claiming your developments were fully pre-sold when they were only 30% committed." The color drained from Marcus's face as I continued. "Or Isabella's practice of using the same properties as collateral for multiple loans. Did you really think nobody would notice?" "I'll call my lawyers," Aunt Carmen declared, reaching for her phone. "The ones you pay with credit lines from my bank?" I asked innocently. "Those accounts were frozen 10 minutes ago." My phone buzzed with another update from my executive team. Media alerted to Martinez family financial irregularities. Major business networks requesting statements. You've destroyed us, Isabella whispered, tears streaking her perfect makeup. No, Bella. You destroyed yourselves. I'm simply calling in the debts. I stood up, straightening my cheap dress. However, Rivera Financial is prepared to offer you a restructuring option. One that might save what's left of the Martinez family reputation. What's the catch? Marcus asked bitterly. Complete financial transparency. Independent auditors. And new management for all Martinez family businesses. I distributed folders containing the terms. Oh, and you'll all need to find new places to live. The properties are being reclaimed as collateral. This mansion is my home. Marcus protested. This mansion belongs to my bank, I corrected him. Just like Isabella's penthouse, Aunt Carmen's vacation homes, and every other asset you leverage to maintain your illusion of success. My phone lit up with breaking news. Rivera Financial Group initiates major asset recovery. Martinez family empire in crisis. You can't do this to family, Aunt Carmen pleaded. Family. I laughed softly. Like when you told everyone I was working as a bank teller because I couldn't handle real business. Or when Isabella spread rumors that I was living off a trust fund because I couldn't succeed on my own. I walked to the window looking out at their luxury cars. All financed through my bank. While you were all busy showing off your borrowed success, I built something real. Something lasting. What do you want from us? Isabella's voice cracked. What I've always wanted. Acknowledgement. Respect. And about $47 million in overdue loans. I turned back to face them. You have until tomorrow morning to sign the restructuring agreements. After that, everything goes to public auction. The next hour was a blur of tears, pleading and desperate phone calls to disconnected lines of credit. I watched from my father's old study as their world collapsed. The same way they'd watched me struggle after they hijacked my inheritance. By midnight I stood in my real office. The entire top floor of Rivera Financial's headquarters. The city lights twinkled below. A stark contrast to the darkness now enveloping the Martinez family's future. The papers are ready for tomorrow, my assistant reported. And we've arranged temporary housing for the family members being displaced. In that old apartment complex they used to mock me for living in? I asked. The very same. Though now you own the entire building. I smiled, picking up my outdated phone. The device that had just orchestrated one of the most complete financial takedowns in recent memory. Messages flooded in from family members. Some threatening, some begging, all too late. One from Isabella caught my eye. I understand now. Why you kept driving that old car wearing simple clothes. You were building something while we were just pretending. The next morning, I walked into Rivera Financial's main conference room where my broken family waited to sign the restructuring agreements. Gone were the designer clothes and arrogant smirks, replaced by department store outfits and humble expressions. Before we begin, I announced, I want to thank you all. Your mockery taught me an invaluable lesson. True power doesn't need to show off. Real success doesn't need designer labels or luxury cars. I sat at the head of the table, smoothing down my now recognizably expensive dress. Sometimes, success looks like an outdated phone in the hands of someone who knows exactly when to use it. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't showing people what they missed. It's letting them discover it themselves, one frozen account at a time.